Hello everyone, welcome to APUSH Simplified. Today we're looking at one of the two core documents to the United States, the Declaration of Independence, written by Thomas Jefferson and signed and ratified by the Second Continental Congress in 1776. Before getting into the details of the document, let's take a quick look at the context. I'm only going to briefly touch upon the context. There are other videos in which I go way more in depth about this time period. So, the French and Indian War, in which the British were victorious and gained control of French possessions in North America, ended up costing the British a lot and put them in considerable debt. Prior to the war, the American colonies enjoyed solitary neglect, in which they could mostly govern themselves fairly independently, and the mercantilist laws and taxes were only lightly enforced. However, that ends, ushering in an era of British acts that restrict movement, notably the Proclamation Act, which forbade settling the Ohio River Valley. Also, new taxes were tried out. However, enforcement again proved tricky. Then an exasperated British Parliament and King passed more heavy-handed acts, like the so-called Intolerable Acts, and restricted colonial assemblies and burdened the colonists with quartering of British soldiers. There were many American responses over this time period to these British acts, including formal colonial committees protesting the acts, like the Stamp Act Congress and Continental Congress. Citizens themselves also organized boycotts and protests, one of which turned violent and was dubbed the Boston Massacre. There were more overt acts of defiance, like the Boston Tea Party, and radical groups sprung up, like the Sons and Daughters of Liberty, and they caused all sorts of mischief. The hotbed of defiance was Massachusetts, and when the British attempted a military incursion to disarm colonial militias, things went south rapidly, and several small-scale pitched battles occurred. Back in Philadelphia, the Second Continental Congress set up an Independence Committee. On that committee, Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence and brought it back to Congress. They debated, voted, and passed the Declaration. Okay, now let's get into its revolutionary details. The document starts out with saying there is a need to declare that the political bonds are separated between the U.S. and Great Britain. It then takes a turn and makes incredible statements for the time period, including that all men are created equal, all people have natural rights that cannot be taken away, which are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It also says that government derives its power from its citizens, very much like a republic or other form of democracy. And finally, in this profound and revolutionary language, Jefferson says that if a government tries to take away rights, it is up to citizens to fix or replace the government. Finishing up the key details, the Declaration goes on to discuss the many grievances American colonists have against the king, and that he has ruled the colonies like a tyrant. A few examples include his refusal to let colonists make their own laws, unfair taxes, and does not allow the colonists to have diplomatic relations with other countries. And because of all these grievances, it is time for the colonies to declare their independence from Great Britain. Lastly, let's look at the intentions and legacy of the document. Jefferson looks to both explain why the U.S. was breaking away from Great Britain and lay out the ideals of this new country. The documents and its ideas are a product of the Enlightenment, influenced by John Locke and the experience of colonial Americans. It will go on to have a long and living legacy as America struggled throughout its history and today to live up to its ideals. There has been incredible progress, including ending slavery, advances in equal rights, expansion of democracy over time, and creating a society in which the American dream is attainable for all. But there is still a ways to go on many of these fronts. The Declaration of Independence is cited many times in many famous speeches and famous speakers. A few examples include the Gettysburg Address by Abraham Lincoln, Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech, and Barack Obama's 2004 DNC speech. That does it for the Declaration of Independence. Thanks for watching. Please give the video a like and subscribe to the channel for more AP US History review and explanations.